My name is Emily Carter. I'm 21 years old and I haven't been outside in 43 days. I know because I count them. Every morning when I open my eyes, I draw a tiny line with the edge of a broken pencil on the wall beside my bed. The wall is covered in them now. A forest of thin gray marks, proof that time still moves even when I can't. The curtains are always half closed. They let in just enough light to remind me the world still exists, but never enough to show me what it looks like. Sometimes I see shadows move past the window, neighbors, cars, maybe the mailman. I imagine what they'd think if they knew that just a few feet away, there's someone whispering to herself, pretending everything's fine. Michael says he's protecting me. He says people outside don't understand me, that they twist stories, that they'd try to take me away. He says I panic easily, that the noise out there makes me sick. He says love is keeping someone safe from themselves. He says a lot of things. At first I thought it was care. He worried when I came home late, so I stopped going out. He didn't like my friends, so I stopped answering them. He didn't want me working night shifts, so I quit. Each decision felt small, harmless, but somehow they built a world I couldn't step outside of anymore. Now, mornings sound the same. The hum of the refrigerator, the steady tick of the kitchen clock, his footsteps upstairs. Sometimes I lie very still and listen just to be sure he's really gone. Only then do I breathe properly. Today, I asked if we could go outside. I picked my moment carefully after breakfast while he was in a good mood. I said I missed the sun. He didn't answer right away. He poured his coffee, stirred it 3 times, then looked at me over the rim of the cup. "You know what happens when you start asking for things?" he said. I told him I wasn't asking for much, just a few minutes in the yard. He smiled, a small, polite smile that never reaches his eyes, and said, "You always say that. Then you ruin it." I nodded and said I was sorry. That word always fixes things. Sorry, it buys me peace for a few hours. When he left for work, I stood by the window and touched the curtain. The sunlight on my fingertips felt like a memory, warm, distant, almost gone. For a second, I imagined pulling the curtain wide open. I imagined the neighbor's dog barking, a child's bicycle rolling past, the world reacting to proof that I'm still alive. Then I heard the click of the door upstairs and froze. He hadn't left yet. He was standing on the stairs watching me. He didn't yell. He never does. He just said, "You like testing me, don't you?" I said nothing. He walked over, lowered the curtain, and whispered, "Don't make me lock it again." Then he kissed my forehead, like he'd just taught a lesson when he finally left. I sat down on the floor and tried to remember what my own voice sounded like. I whispered my name over and over, Emily Carter, until it started to feel real again. Then I wrote it on the back of an old grocery receipt, folded it, and hid it under the mattress. I don't know why. Maybe because if anyone ever finds this room, I want them to know who was here. I used to think fear was loud, screaming, running, breaking things. But fear is quiet. It's polite. It sits beside you at breakfast and says, "You're safe," while taking away every door you could leave through. Sometimes, at night I hear cars outside, and I wonder where they're going. Maybe someone is heading home from work. Maybe 2 friends are arguing over the radio. Maybe a girl somewhere is telling herself that love means being patient. I hope she's wrong before it's too late. I don't know what day it is anymore, but I know that tomorrow, when I wake up, I'll draw another line on the wall, and I'll tell myself softly that counting means I haven't stopped yet. My name is Emily Carter, and I'm still here. The days keep melting together. Sometimes I wake up thinking it's morning. The light looks wrong, and the house sounds empty, and I realize it's already afternoon. There's a clock in the kitchen that ticks too loud. It's the only thing that still measures time here. Everything else just waits. Michael leaves early most days. He says he has work, though I never ask where. When he's gone, I listen, not for him, but for the world. The faint noise of cars far away, someone's dog barking, a lawnmower starting up. Every sound feels like a reminder that somewhere people are still living ordinary lives. And then the quiet returns, heavy and warm. And I remember that ordinary doesn't belong to me anymore. He calls every few hours. He asks what I've eaten, if I've rested, if I've thought about us. I always say yes, because no is dangerous. He likes when I sound grateful. He says that's how love should sound, soft, calm, thankful. When he comes home, the house changes. It feels smaller. He walks in and fills the space, talking about the people he met, the weather, something funny he heard on the radio. Sometimes he tells me stories about when we first met, as if we're still those same people. I laugh when he does, because that's what keeps the evening smooth. He calls it our quiet life. I remember the first time he ever raised his voice. We were still living in my old apartment back then. I wanted to go visit my mom for the weekend. He said he'd miss me too much, and when I laughed it off, he threw my phone across the room. The screen shattered. He cried afterward, said he didn't know what came over him. He spent the whole night holding me, promising he'd get better. He did for a while. Until he doesn't know, he doesn't need to shout. All he has to do is pause long enough, look at me in that quiet way, and I already know what not to say. Control becomes easy once you teach someone to imagine the consequences for you. Sometimes he brings me small gifts, a book, a hair clip, once even a candle. He says it's so I don't get bored. But the book is missing half its pages, and the candle's wick is gone. Little reminders that nothing here is whole anymore. At night, I lie awake and listen to him breathe beside me. The sound used to make me feel safe. Now it sounds like a cage door closing. When he turns over, I open my eyes and stare at the ceiling. I count the faint cracks that run like veins across the plaster. There are 7. I've counted them so many times, I could trace them in the dark. Last week, he said maybe we could take a drive soon. He said it like a reward. If you keep being good, he told me, I'll show you the sky again. The words hit me harder than I expected, the sky. It's strange how something so endless can start to feel like a promise. Since then, I've tried even harder to stay calm. I speak softly. I keep the house tidy. I pretend I don't notice when he checks the locks twice before going upstairs. If this is the game, I'll play it. Because maybe a drive means a road, and a road means choices. Yesterday, he came home later than usual. He smelled like gasoline and rain. He told me he'd stopped at the lake on his way back, that the water looked like glass. He said you'd like it there. It's quiet. I told him I'd love to see it someday, and for a second he looked almost moved. Then his face shut again, and he said, maybe. After dinner, I asked if he ever misses how things used to be, the nights we went to diners. The way we used to walk through downtown without thinking about time. He stared at his plate and said, that world wasn't good for you. It made you restless. I told him maybe I liked being restless. He laughed softly and said, you think that's freedom? Freedom makes people selfish. When he went to bed, I stayed in the kitchen for a long time, tracing my finger over the table's edge. The wood is worn smooth from his hands. Everything he touches loses its shape eventually. I wondered if that's what I've become too, something shaped to fit his calm. The night stretched on. A storm rolled in. The wind tapped at the window like it wanted to come inside. I whispered my own name again just to hear it under the thunder. Then I said my mother's name. Then I said outside. Each word felt heavier than the last, like speaking them was pulling them from the ground. When morning came, the world smelled clean. Michael made breakfast and asked if I'd slept well. I said I had. He looked almost proud. Then he said, maybe tomorrow we'll go for that drive. I didn't react right away, just nodded and thanked him. Inside, my heart felt like it was trying to remember how to move. He doesn't know that I've started keeping a small list hidden inside a book cover. Little details I think might matter later. The make of his car, the route he usually takes, the time the mailman comes by, the neighbor's name written on the mailbox across the street. They're just words, but maybe one day they'll connect to something that opens a door. For now, just keep adding lines to the wall, one every morning. When the light leaks through the curtain, it touches each one like a scar. I tell myself scars mean healing, not endings. And I tell myself what I've told myself every day since this began: stay calm, stay quiet. Remember everything. My name is Emily Carter, and tomorrow, I might see the sky again. Michael kept his promise. He said we'd go for a drive today. All morning he moved through the house humming to himself, packing small things, a water bottle, the car keys, a jacket for me even though it was already warm outside. Every sound he made felt too bright, too sharp, like it didn't belong in this quiet place. I sat on the couch and waited. I didn't ask where we were going. I've learned that questions are just another way to start a storm. When we stepped outside, the air was thick and clean. It hit me so fast I almost cried. The sun, the smell of wet soil, the sound of insects, it was all too much. For months, my world had been four walls and a ticking clock, and suddenly it had color again. Michael noticed. He smiled the way people smile at children who behave. "See? I told you the world isn't going anywhere," he said. I nodded, because I didn't trust my voice. In the car, he rolled the windows halfway down. The wind touched my face, soft at first, then stronger. I wanted to lean into it, let it pull me apart, scatter me down the road. He turned the radio on low. A song I almost remembered filled the space between us. He drummed his fingers on the steering wheel, completely at ease. I realized then that freedom doesn't always come with doors or ropes. Sometimes it sits beside you, smiling, pretending to love you. We drove past the grocery store, the gas station, the small diner where we used to eat pancakes at midnight. Everything looked familiar and strange at the same time, like a dream you almost recognize but can't step into. I watched people through the window, a woman pushing a stroller, a boy holding a paper bag, a man watering his lawn. They were so close. If I opened the door right now, they'd hear me. If I screamed, someone would look up. But his hand rested lightly on my knee, and that small weight kept me still. He took a road I didn't know. Trees lined both sides, sunlight flickering through the branches like blinking eyes. After a while, he parked near a lake. The water was flat and silver, the air smelled of pine and mud. He told me to breathe. I did. He told me to smile. I tried, he said. "You see how good this feels when you trust me?" I said yes. That was the right answer. We sat in silence for a while. The wind pushed ripples across the water. Somewhere behind us, a bird called, then another. I counted them like minutes. Then he said, "Do you ever think about going back? To your old life?" My throat tightened. I said, "Sometimes." He nodded slowly. That's the sickness. The world poisons people. You start missing things that hurt you. I wanted to tell him that what hurt me was sitting next to me, but instead I said, "I know." On the way back, we stopped at a small store. He needed cigarettes. He asked if I wanted to come inside. My heart jumped. "Can I?" He smiled. "You've earned it." Inside the store, the air smelled like old coffee and detergent. Fluorescent lights buzzed overhead. Everything was too bright. I kept my hands close to my body, afraid to touch anything. The man at the counter nodded politely. Michael grabbed a soda and told me to pick something too. I pointed at a candy bar. He laughed. Still the same taste. While he paid, I saw a phone hanging on the wall behind the counter, an old one yellowed by time, with a long cord. I stared at it so long that the cashier followed my eyes. He smiled kindly. "You need to make a call, miss?" Michael's hand tightened around my shoulder. He laughed again. "She's fine. Just shy." I smiled back, small and empty, and said, "I'm fine." The drive home felt shorter. He talked about the future, about how we'd move somewhere quiet someday, near the mountains maybe. He said we'd start over, just the two of us. I asked if there'd be neighbors there. He said, "Only trees. Trees don't gossip." When we reached the house, I almost didn't want to go inside. The walls looked smaller than before. The air felt heavier. He locked the door behind us and placed the keys on the counter. Then he turned to me and said, "See? You behaved. That's why today was good." He brushed his thumb across my cheek like he was wiping away dust. "Don't ruin this, Em. I need to know I can trust you." That night, he fell asleep early. I sat by the window and looked at the moon through the curtain gap. It was pale, thin, almost invisible, but it was there. I pressed my hand to the glass and whispered, I was outside. I thought about the man in the store, the way he looked at me, the second he almost asked again if I was okay. If I'd blinked differently, if I'd said one wrong word, maybe everything would have changed. But maybe not. Fear doesn't let you test it twice. When the house grew quiet, I pulled out the notebook where I'd been writing little things, routes, words, times. I added a new line, store near lake, wall phone behind counter. Cashier's name tag, said Leo. Then I closed it. Slipped it back under the mattress and turned off the light. Sleep came slow. Dreams came slower. I dreamed I was driving again, alone this time. The lake passed by, the town, the diner, all fading behind me. I didn't look back, but when I woke up, the first thing I saw was the curtain closed tight, the room gray again. I listened for Michael's footsteps upstairs and told myself it had all been a good rehearsal. Next time, I'll know which road leads away from here. Michael left before sunrise. He said he had errands, that he wouldn't be long, but I could tell from the way he closed the door that he'd be gone for hours. He always has a different kind of silence when he lies. For a long time, I just sat on the couch and listened to the house breathe. It creaks sometimes, the way old houses do when no one's talking. The sound used to scare me. Now it feels like proof that something else exists besides him and me. The morning light came in through the curtains. Dust floated in the air, soft and gold. For a moment, it looked like freedom. Small pieces of it I couldn't reach. I made tea even though I didn't want any. Routine keeps me sane. If I act normal long enough, maybe my body will forget what fear feels like. He took my phone months ago, said it was making me anxious. But I know where he keeps it now, in the drawer beside the bed, with his old charger cables and keys. Sometimes, when he forgets to lock the bedroom door, I peek inside just to see it. Just to remind myself that once my life fit inside that small screen, today felt different. I can't explain it. Maybe it's the sunlight. Maybe it's because yesterday, when we went for that drive, I saw how close everything still was. The store, the houses, the world. I could almost touch it. And now, that memory won't leave me alone. I started walking around the house, quietly, like a ghost, testing her own walls. The floor creaked in 2 places, the same ones I've memorized from his footsteps. I stopped at the kitchen counter. His keys weren't there, he'd taken them. But the drawer under the counter, the one with the old tools, was half open. Inside were nails, screws, batteries, and an old flip phone. The same one I saw the day he brought home the box of tools. Back then, I was too scared to touch it. Today I wasn't. I took it out, hands shaking. It felt heavier than I remembered. Cold. I pressed the power button. Nothing. I turned it over, opened the back, no battery. But at the bottom of the drawer, under the screwdrivers, there it was. Small, silver scratched. I held my breath as I slid it in. The screen flickered. A faint blue glow. Then the words appeared. No SIM. I almost laughed. After all this time, after all the waiting, the phone was still alive. Like me, it doesn't matter that there's no card. Emergency numbers still work. I know that much. I used to work at a clinic. We had safety posters on the wall, the ones that tell you how to call for help without being heard. I sat down at the kitchen table. The phone felt warm now, like it was breathing with me. I traced the numbers with my thumb. 9. 1. 1. I didn't press them. Not yet. You only get one chance when you're playing with someone else's rules. Instead, I planned. Michael usually comes home around 3. He stops at the store first, gets cigarettes, sometimes bread. He always takes the long way back, past the park and the bus stop. He gives me about 20 minutes. That's all I'd need. If the operator answers, I can't say help. He listens to recordings sometimes, checks my tone, studies my words. So I'd have to make it sound normal. A mistake. A wrong number. And then I remembered the flyer. Months ago, when he brought groceries home, a pizza menu fell out of one of the bags. He laughed, said he didn't like pizza, and tossed it into the trash. But I kept it in my head. The colors, the logo, even the fake number that looked real enough to call. I remember thinking, if I ever had to pretend, that would be it. A pizza order. It's almost funny how the smallest, most ordinary things become survival tools. A phone. A menu. A lie. I checked the clock. It was still early. I needed to stay calm, make the house look untouched. I put the drawer back exactly how I found it, every tool in place. Then I carried the phone to the living room and slid it under the cushion of the couch when he came home. I wanted everything to feel the same. He can sense changes, the smallest things. Once, I moved a plant 2 inches closer to the window, and he asked about it the moment he walked in. He notices what normal people never would. Control makes people sharp. Fear makes them sharper. I spent the rest of the morning cleaning, not because I wanted to, because it made me look harmless. I folded his laundry, wiped the counter, opened the curtains just a little. Every small act was part of the lie. By the time the sun reached the kitchen floor, I could feel my heart beat everywhere, my chest, my throat, my fingertips. I told myself over and over, he doesn't know. He doesn't know. Then I heard it, the sound of the front door. It was too soon. I froze halfway between the table and the couch. The keys rattled. Then his voice. "Em, you here?" I forced a smile before he saw me. "Yeah," I said. "You're early." He looked at the clock. "Didn't feel like working today." My stomach turned. He walked into the kitchen, sniffed the air. "You cleaned?" "Yeah," I said. "Just passing the time." He nodded, looked around slowly. I tried not to follow his eyes. When they landed on the couch, I almost stopped breathing. He sat down, right on top of the cushion, hiding the phone. "Come sit," he said. So I did. He talked about nothing. The road, the lake, how the news was full of liars. I smiled when he smiled, laughed when he did. Every second felt like glass under my feet. Finally, he stood up. "I'm gonna nap," he said. "Wake me if you need something." I nodded. He walked into the bedroom, closed the door halfway. The moment it clicked, I stood up. I reached under the cushion and grabbed the phone. It felt like holding a heartbeat. I moved to the corner of the room. Behind the bookshelf, the one place where the signal sometimes blinks through, I pressed 2. E. 1. The line clicked. A voice said, "Emergency services?" "What's your high?" I said softly. "I'd like to order a pizza." The operator hesitated. "Ma'am, you've reached emergency services." "I know," I said. "Can I get a large one? Half pepperoni, half mushroom?" There was a pause. Then the operator's voice lowered. "Are you in danger right now?" "Yes," I whispered. "And please, hurry." He stirred in the other room. I froze, phone pressed to my ear, praying the floor wouldn't creak. The operator said, "Stay on the line." "We're tracing your call," I whispered. "The address is 27 Hawthorne Avenue." Then I ended the call before she could answer. The silence that followed was unbearable. The house seemed to know. The walls held their breath with me. I slid the phone into my sleeve and walked to the kitchen sink. I turned on the water, pretending to wash a cup, trying to make it sound normal. My reflection in the window looked like a stranger. Eyes too wide, skin too pale. Fear makes you see yourself the way you really are, small and temporary. I heard footsteps behind me. I turned slowly. He was standing in the hallway watching me. "Who were you talking to?" he asked. My throat went dry. "I wasn't," I said. "I was humming." He tilted his head. "You never hum." I forced to laugh. "I was trying it." He smiled faintly. "You're weird." He walked past me, opened the fridge and grabbed a drink. I watched him open it, the sound of the cap twisting off loud as thunder. He took a sip, looked at me again, then turned toward the living room. For a few seconds, I couldn't move. Then, faintly, from somewhere outside, a sound. Not a siren yet, just a car door. Then another. Then the unmistakable click of a police radio. He heard it too. He looked up from the couch, his eyes narrowing. "What's that?" I shrugged, trying to keep my voice steady. Probably the neighbors. He walked to the window, peered through the curtain. He froze. Then he turned back toward me, his voice low and sharp. "What did you do?" I said nothing. I didn't have to. He could see it in my face. For a heartbeat, everything stopped. Then he moved. Fast. I backed away, hit the counter. Outside, the knock came hard, loud. "Police, open up." He froze again. His breathing quickened. He looked at the back door, then at me. I didn't move. "Emily," he said, almost calm again. "Listen to me. You don't want them here." I didn't answer. The knocking came again, louder. The sound of boots on the porch. The door rattled. And then the crash. The door burst open. Voices, flashlights, shouting. I dropped to the floor, hands over my head. Someone grabbed my arm, not him. A voice said, "You're safe now." Another voice shouted, "We've got him." I remember light, so much light I couldn't see. I remember the cold air hitting my face. I remember crying without realizing I was doing it. They led me outside. The world was loud again. Sirens, radios, footsteps, the hum of life. For a second I thought I'd pass out. Then someone put a blanket over my shoulders. I heard them say my name, my real name, and I started shaking. I looked back once, just once at the house. The curtains still drawn, the walls still standing. It looks smaller now, harmless almost. But I know better. Monsters don't live in the dark. They build homes in the light and call it love. They ask me questions. How long, who, why, but I couldn't answer. The words didn't fit in my mouth anymore. I just kept whispering. I called, over and over, like proof. Hours later in the hospital, when they brought me water and soft light and quiet voices, I realized something. Freedom doesn't feel like fireworks. It feels like air moving through your lungs without permission. The next morning, sunlight filled the room. Real sunlight. For the first time in months, I didn't flinch from it. I closed my eyes and let it touch my face. My name is Emily Carter, and I survived. But sometimes when the house is quiet, I still hear the sound of that lock turning, and I remind myself over and over, don't look back. Mornings don't feel like mornings anymore. There's no line between night and day, just light and dark and the same house breathing in between. The clock on the wall says it's 8:30, but the numbers mean nothing. Michael's gone again. He left without saying when he'd be back. He does that sometimes, just to see how I handle it. The silence is heavy today. It presses against my chest, fills the rooms. I can hear the hum of the refrigerator, the tick of the clock, my own heartbeat. Sometimes I talk out loud just to hear a voice. But even that sounds wrong now. Too soft, too small. I keep thinking about the call. The way my hands shook, the way the voice on the other end changed when she understood. Maybe they're still trying to find me. Maybe they gave up. I don't know how long it's been since that morning. 2 days? 3. Time is slippery when every hour feels the same. I've started moving differently. Quieter, slower. Every sound in this house belongs to him, so I try to borrow as few as possible. Even my footsteps feel like trespassing. He's been watching me more closely since the police came that day. He said they were looking for someone else, that it was all coincidence. But the look in his eyes didn't match his words. When he talks now, his voice is careful, like someone walking across ice. He asks if I'm happy here, if I know how much he's done for me. I tell him yes. I smile. I nod. But every answer I give him feels like another stone added to the wall between us. He doesn't sleep as much anymore. He keeps the blinds closed tighter, the locks double-checked. He moved the phone, I think. I can't find it where it used to be. Maybe he sensed something. Maybe he just changes things to remind me that control belongs to him. Yesterday, he brought home groceries. He made me sit at the table while he unpacked them, naming each item like it was part of some lesson. See? Bread, apples, milk, normal things. You see how normal our life is? I nodded and said, It's nice." He smiled. But there was something in his eyes, like he didn't quite believe himself either. When he left to put things away, I noticed a small tear in the grocery bag. Inside, folded between 2 paper towels, was a receipt. On the back of it, someone had scribbled a phone number. It wasn't his handwriting. It was rushed, uneven. For a second, I wondered if it was meant for me. If maybe someone at the store had seen the look in my eyes and taken a chance. I memorized the number anyway, just in case. Later, after dinner, he sat beside me on the couch. He asked me to read to him. It's one of his favorite tricks, making me perform normalcy. He picked a book from the shelf, handed it to me, and said, out loud. It was a book about silence, about people lost in snowstorms. I read until my throat burned. When I stopped, he said, "You sound peaceful when you read. That's how I like you best." I smiled because smiling is survival. When he went to shower, I sat there staring at the open book. The words blurred. I realized I wasn't reading them anymore. I was counting again. Counting seconds until the water stopped running. Counting heartbeats until the door opened. Counting how many lines on the wall were left to fill. I used to think waiting was weakness. Now I know it's a kind of strength, holding yourself still long enough to notice the cracks. And cracks always grow if you give them time. Tonight, the air feels strange. The house hums differently, like it's holding its breath. I can smell rain outside. The first storm in weeks. Thunder always makes Michael nervous. He says it keeps him awake. Maybe that's good. Maybe it'll drown out the sound of something else. I keep the small notebook under my pillow now. Inside it are my maps, imaginary ones, drawn from memory. The shape of the street, the direction of the lake, the color of the houses nearby. I write down everything I can remember about the phone call, the operator's voice, the words she used, how long it took before I heard the first sound outside. If they come again, I want to be ready. I want to know what to do, but part of me wonders if they already came and left. If maybe they knocked on the wrong door. If maybe the world moved on. That's the cruelest part of hope. It doesn't know when to stop. Michael came home late tonight. He smelled like cigarettes and rain. He dropped his jacket on the floor and said, "You didn't move all day, did you?" I said no. He smiled, almost proud. "Good. You're learning." He made tea for both of us. We sat at the table, drinking in silence. The thunder outside rattled the windows. He reached across and touched my wrist, just lightly, but my skin flinched anyway. He noticed. "Still jumpy," he said softly. "Then you know I'd never hurt you, right?" I said yes, because that's the only safe answer. He looked at me a long time before standing up. "I'm tired," he said. "Tomorrow, maybe, we'll take another drive." He went upstairs. I stayed in the kitchen, staring at the empty cups. The rain hit the windows harder. Somewhere in the distance, thunder rolled over the hills. I whispered to myself, "Tomorrow." The word didn't sound like hope. It sounded like a test. When the house finally went quiet, I moved. Slowly, carefully. I checked the drawer where the tools used to be. The phone was in there. I checked under the couch cushions, behind the bookshelf. Nothing. He must have hidden it somewhere new. He's always one step ahead. Like he can read my mind, but he can't read everything. He doesn't know about the receipt. He doesn't know about the number. He doesn't know that sometimes when he's asleep. I whisper words to remind myself how to speak. I folded the receipt and slipped it under the lining of my jacket. It's thin, almost invisible. If he ever searches me, he won't notice. I don't even know if the number works, but just having it near me feels like carrying a heartbeat. I sat by the window until dawn. The rain stopped, the sky turned pale. When Michael came down, he looked at me strangely, like he was trying to remember who I was. "Did you sleep?" he asked. I said, "A little." Poured coffee, black and bitter. Then he said something he hadn't said in months. "You can go outside today. I trust you." I don't know if it was a reward or another test. I said thank you, quietly. He handed me my shoes. They felt foreign, heavy, like they belonged to someone else. Outside, the ground was wet, the air cool. He stood on the porch watching me. I walked to the edge of the yard, felt the mud cling to my shoes. The sky was gray but open. For the first time, I could smell pine and asphalt and something sweet freedom. Maybe, or memory. Don't go far, he said. I turned, nodded, forced a smile. I won't. He stayed there, arms crossed, pretending not to be watching. Every step I took made the distance between us grow smaller in my head. Bigger in the world, at the edge of the yard, I saw the neighbor's mailbox. A name printed in black letters, Miller. I remembered it from my list. I whispered it to myself like a spell. If I ever need help, I'll run there first. When we went back inside, he seemed almost happy. He said, "See? I knew you could be good." I said, "Thank you." But all I could think was, the world is still there. The world is still waiting. I don't remember the exact moment the door broke open. Sometimes I think it was a dream. All the shouting, the light, the hands pulling me away. Other times I hear it so clearly that I wake up with the echo still inside my chest. They say memory protects you. It hides the pieces that would burn too much. But mine hides everything except the noise. The first thing I truly remember after that night is the cold. Cold air on my face, cold metal of the ambulance rail under my fingers, cold hands holding me still while someone said, "You're safe, safe." The word felt too big for my mouth. They asked me questions I couldn't answer. What happened? How long had it been? Where were you kept? Every time I tried to speak, my throat closed like it still belonged to that house. At the hospital, everything was white walls, sheets, faces. I hated it. White meant silence again, meant nothingness. But there were voices now, soft and patient. Nurses talking about shifts, someone laughing down the hall, a radio playing an old song, the sound of life. I didn't know how to join it yet. They gave me soup. They gave me a blanket. They said my name over and over until I started believing it again. "Emily, you're safe, Emily." I stayed quiet for days. Sleep came and went in pieces. Sometimes I woke up in the dark, heart racing, certain that the door would open and he'd be standing there, calm as ever, asking why I'd ruined everything. But the door stayed closed, always closed. Detectives came. They asked about Michael, his habits, his words, his rules. I told them what I could remember. I left out the things that still hurt to think. They wrote it all down like ingredients in a recipe for fear. I watched their pens move faster when I mentioned the call, the pizza order. The sound of his footsteps, the operator's voice changing. One of them smiled, just a little. He said that call saved your life. Maybe it did, but it doesn't feel like a victory. It feels like waking up after drowning air that burns instead of heals. Days turned into weeks. They moved me to a quieter wing of the hospital. Therapists came, kind women with tired eyes. They asked if I wanted to talk about what happened. I said no at first. Talking meant remembering. Remembering meant feeling. And I wasn't ready for either. At night, I still heard the lock turning. I still smelled the cigarettes and rain. I still saw the faint blue glow of that old phone screen. Sometimes I'd reach for it in my sleep, half expecting to wake up in that same room again. They told me Michael was in custody. They said words like trial, charges, sentencing. I tried to picture his face behind bars, but all I could see was the way he used to smile when I said thank you. Monsters don't wear fangs. They wear patience. My mother came after 2 weeks. When she walked into the room, I almost didn't recognize her. Her hair was grayer, her voice quieter. She said my name once, and we both started crying. She held me like she used to when I was little, whispering, "You're home now." But I wasn't sure what home meant anymore. 4 walls can be safety or a cage. It depends who's holding the key. She stayed for hours, telling me about the world, news stores, neighbors who'd moved away, things I'd missed. I listened, nodding, pretending to understand, but part of me was still counting lines on the wall. Even now, my mind measures time in scratches. A few days later, They let me step outside. The nurse held my arm, guiding me through the hospital garden. It was bright, too bright. The sun felt like something I'd forgotten how to touch. The air smelled of flowers and rain. I stood there for a long time, eyes closed, just breathing. I think that's when I cried for real. Not from fear, but from the shock of being alive. They said I could go home soon. Home. That word again. Where is home after everything? A new apartment? My mother's house? Or just anywhere that doesn't have his voice echoing in it? When I left the hospital, the world felt bigger than it used to. Sounds hit harder. People talked too loud. Even the sky looked strange, endless, almost cruel in its openness. Freedom is loud when you've lived in silence too long. Reporters tried to talk to me. They wanted to know the details. How I survived, what he said, what I felt. But the truth doesn't make good headlines. The truth is slow, quiet, heavy. It sits in your bones long after the world stops looking. I moved into a small place near the edge of town. One window. One door. All mine. The first night there, I left the light on. Not because I was scared of the dark, but because I needed to see that it stayed empty. No footsteps. No whispers. Just quiet. I still can't sleep through the night. Sometimes I dream that I'm back in the house, counting again. Other times, I dream of the lake, still water, the reflection of the trees, his hand on my shoulder. When I wake up, I write everything down, as if naming the ghosts keeps them from settling in. They offered me therapy sessions twice a week. At first, I sat there silent while the clock ticked. Then one day I said something. I said, "He told me love was safety." Therapist nodded, didn't interrupt. So I kept talking. About the rules. About the silence. About how I started counting days like prayers. When I finished, she said, "You kept yourself alive by noticing. That's how you survived." I didn't know noticing could be strength. But maybe that's all survival is, paying attention until the door opens. Sometimes, I walk through the park near my apartment. I don't go far, just a loop around the pond. Kids feed ducks there. People laugh. It feels almost unreal, like watching a movie I used to be part of. Once, a little boy dropped his ice cream, and his mother knelt to comfort him. He cried, then smiled again. I realized how strange it felt to see comfort work that quickly. Mine will take longer. The police sent me my belongings weeks later, things they'd collected from the house. A sweater, a book, that broken pencil I used to mark the wall, and the phone. The same flip phone, screen cracked now, battery dead. I keep it in a drawer untouched. I don't know why. Maybe because it's proof that fear can end if you make one right call. Every once in a while, I hear thunder and I freeze. Then I remind myself where I am. The storm can't find me here. He can't find me here. The sound is just sound again. People tell me I'm brave. I don't feel brave. I feel tired. But tiredness means I'm still here to feel it. And maybe that's enough for now. Yesterday, I went to the store for the first time alone. I walked down the aisles, touching everything. Fruit, boxes, paper. Every texture felt like a memory I didn't know I missed. When I reached the counter, the cashier smiled and said, "You okay?" For a second, I didn't know how to answer. Then I said, "Yeah, just taking my time." He nodded. "Take all the time you need." I smiled back. It wasn't forced this time. That night, I wrote something new on the last page of my notebook. Freedom isn't the opposite of fear. It's what you build after it. And then, for the first time since everything, I slept, no dreams. No doors, just quiet. In the morning, I opened the window. The air smelled like spring. A bird landed on the railing, small, gray, curious. It looked at me, tilted its head, and flew away. I watched until it disappeared. Then I whispered the words I promised myself I'd always say when I was ready. Don't look back. Not because the past isn't real, but because I already survived it.